I'm Adamo.
Hey, and I'm Boris.
And yeah, so today we're going to be going over a couple of questions that some of our viewers have sent us. And the first one was day in the life of a firefighter. So we're going to be covering that in this episode here.
Exciting.
And very exciting. Yeah, because and like before I got on the job, I used to always wonder too. I'm like, what do they do all shift, right? Like
Hmm.
in between calls and stuff. So it's probably a lot more structured, I think, than people probably realize.
Yeah.
So this also might be a bit of an eye opener for people if they're thinking about getting into this job because they think that you don't do anything between calls. That's absolutely false. We're usually very busy, and this goes for basically every fire department,
Hmm.
right?
I feel like you have to have structure because the job is so unpredictable. You can get a call at any point during the day, during the night, right?
Yeah,
So you have to have that structure because if you don't, then it can just go off the rails.
totally. So with most departments now across Canada and the United States, a lot of them are switching over to a 24-hour shift schedule, or they already have been on a 24-hour shift schedule. But there are still some that are on the old 12-hour shift schedule. So we're going to cover both,
Hmm.
essentially. Just, yeah.
Yeah, sounds
So,
good. So yeah, for those that don't know, they call it typically the 4 on 4 off. So what that means is, in the old schedule, you would have a 10-hour day shift and a 10-hour day shift, then a 14-hour night shift and a 14-hour night shift.
yeah, so you'd have two 10-hour day shifts, and then you'd essentially get 24 hours off. So you would say get off at, we'll just say 5 p.m.,
Hmm.
right, in the evening. Well, you don't work the next night until 5 p.m.,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then after your second night shift, you have essentially 4 days off, or technically 3 days off because you were working into the morning of that first day off, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Yeah, that's true.
With the new 24-hour schedule, you're still technically on a 4 on 4 off. It's just condensed. So you may be doing a 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 5 days off, or 24 on, 2 days off, 24 on, 4 days off.
Yeah, and then I think some places in the States too do it a bit different, right?
Yeah, there's 48-hour shifts. Yeah, 36s, 38s. But for the sake of this episode, and we're not going to go down a rabbit hole, we'll just stick to the mostly 24-hour shifts.
Yeah, we're just
Just
gonna keep it simple because otherwise we could make this episode last longer than it really needs to be.
well, this intro that has
Yeah,
been
quick
way too.
intro here. Quick intro. Okay, so shift change. So basically, what's gonna happen is you're gonna show up to your designated fire hall. You're gonna,
How are you going to know where you're working?
well, because you're assigned to a certain fire hall.
Yeah. Sometimes though, you might be shifted around if they need a driver,
Oh, true.
if
Yeah.
they need a specialty or something like that.
Yeah.
So always you want to check your schedule before you get to work because you might have been moved. Some departments you stay at that hall forever. Some departments only have one fire hall, so you always know where you're going, right?
Yeah, and
But
some departments, that's a good point actually, Boris, because some departments have like a flex schedule for their, say like five most junior firefighters, where you're kind of covering people who are on sick time.
mhm.
Um, so typically you're gonna get a call like the day before or something by maybe a chief or whoever is involved in the scheduling to tell you where you're gonna be.
Mhm.
So just be mindful of that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you find out where you are. You get there in the morning. You get to your fire hall. What happens next?
So yeah, so you're gonna get to your fire hall, you're gonna come in. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna set up your gear, right? So your turnout gear, usually you're assigned to a certain apparatus. If you don't know which one you're assigned to, just grab your turnout gear, get it out anyways, and just make sure it's ready to go. Typically, let's say the shift starts at 7, but you get there at 6:30. Well, if a call comes in, the polite thing to do is to take that call for somebody who's coming off shift, just in case that call lasts longer than expected. They're not having to stay late.
Absolutely. And the reason you put your turnout gear outside right away is if that call drops, people aren't waiting for you to go grab your gear, put it on the truck, put your tags on.
Yeah,
You're ready to go as soon as that call drops, essentially.
exactly. That's going to be the first thing that you're going to do. Get your gear out, get your tags on the truck. Then typically what's going to happen is you're going to meet in the kitchen with the crew coming off, and you're going to find someone to replace on on whatever apparatus you're riding on.
Yeah, you'll be so let's paint the picture for some of the listeners here. So you walk into that kitchen, what do you see?
You're gonna see probably the crew coming off shift in the kitchen, probably having coffee.
Yeah,
Um,
probably cleaning,
Probationer cleaning. Probably some muffins have been made and have been put on the table.
pouring coffees.
Pouring coffees, all that stuff. Yeah, so essentially you're gonna go in there. You're gonna have a coffee with the off-coming crew. They're gonna kind of give you a bit of a debrief as to what went on the shift before, if there's anything missing off the rigs, what kind of calls they had, what they used, if there's, any inventory issues, right?
Mhm.
Any mechanical issues with the apparatus. So you're essentially, we call it a handoff, right? So the person coming off shift is going to give their handoff to you as to what happened on the previous shift, so that way you have an idea as to what's going on around the hall or with the apparatus.
Yeah, you and I were actually probies at the same hall on different shifts, so you and I did that tons of times
Yeah,
together.
lots of times.
Like, hey, I screwed up on this thing. Don't do what I did, man.
Yeah. Luckily, Boris was technically no, actually, I was on shift before you.
Yes.
That's the way it would work, yeah, back
Yeah.
then. So, but he screwed up lots, so it was easy for me to
Yeah, I learned
not.
I learned a lot from you. No,
Just kidding.
I think we were pretty good.
Yeah.
We made mistakes obviously, but we try to watch out for each other. It's like, hey, we went on this call, did this. Next time, do this. And
Yeah.
yeah. You're basically sharing information, making sure the oncoming shift is ready to go for their 24-hour shift.
Exactly, yeah. And then from there, once you guys do your handover, then you're going to start doing your rig checks. So every shift, the entire crew is going to go out and check all the equipment on the apparatus. Whether some fire halls out there have like 4 different rigs, some only have one, right?
Mhm. Yeah, we usually check packs and radios first because those are our lifelines, and then we check everything else because that's for
For the
the
public.
public. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're basically doing an inventory check, an equipment check. Make sure, flashlights are charged up. Make sure everyone's tags are on.
Yeah, fuels. It's full on fuel, full on water in the trucks,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So you do a pretty thorough equipment check and rig check. And then from there, typically what's going to happen is there's usually a schedule set, right? Whoever the senior firefighter is, probably going to go check what the schedule is for the day,
Mm-hmm.
and see what drills need to be completed for the shift.
Yeah, and they'll pass it on to the rest of their crew. Like, hey, today we're drilling on this, or we're supposed to do our monthly check on this. So that kind of sets up the day. If we're drilling for 5 hours, let's say just for sake of argument, we have to go down to a train station and do a combined drill with Transport Canada or somebody, then we know half our day is going to be down there. So we have
Yeah.
to kind of figure out our day based on the drill.
Exactly, based on the drill schedule. Yeah.
Mhm.
Once you've kind of figured out what the schedule is for drills and stuff, typically going to go into hall cleanup. So everyone's gonna start cleaning the hall. Take out the garbages. If you're the junior firefighter or the probationer, your job is the bathrooms. You're gonna be cleaning the toilets, and you want
Yeah.
everything to be spick and span, right? It's technically our house for 24 hours potentially, right? So
Totally.
treat it as such, right?
Yeah.
And you're also sharing your house with other people, so cleanliness is a really important part.
My wife was actually super surprised. She came visited one of the fire halls once. She's like, "Wow, your bathrooms are really clean." I'm like, yeah, we clean them every day.
Yeah.
She thought she was gonna see like a disaster. Just 8 guys, But
No, we keep it clean.
yeah.
So yeah, typically after cleanup, then a few members of the crew will probably go shop for lunch.
Yeah,
Now this varies from department to department. Some departments, their members will pick up before shift. Other departments, they don't cook lunch together. You bring your own lunch in.
They call it brown bagging. So if you hear like, "Oh, this department does brown bagging," that's just all it means is they bring their own lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we pay for our own food. That's not something the city provides or anything like that. We bring some cash.
Yeah, I've had people actually shocked that they're like, don't you like get like an allowance from the city? And we're like, no. So yeah, so you just be aware that we do pay for our own food. We try to stick to a budget,
Yeah.
so that way it doesn't get outrageously expensive, obviously. But yeah, we do. Everybody in the crew pitches in the exact same amount
Hmm.
in order to shop for the meals.
Yeah. If it's a special occasion, if someone's leaving, someone's retiring, yeah, someone's last shift, maybe we'll, throw an extra $5 in there, get some kind of dessert or
Yeah,
whatever, right? But usually, like you said, it's designated same amount of time every the same amount of sorry, not time,
same amount of
money.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah, each time.
each time, yeah. What'd you cook yesterday? What'd you guys have?
We had Korean beef bowls, which were awesome,
Mm.
and then we had like a sausage penne
Oh,
for
classic.
dinner with yeah, it was good with some garlic bread and
Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome.
The Italian in you was just tingling, eh?
Oh yeah, yeah, couldn't help it. I was like,
Was that your idea?
you know when you see like a dog and they're like so excited for a ball and they're just like can't contain their excitement? That was me with the pasta.
When's it ready? Right on. Yeah. So shop for food, start cooking at this time. There might be, a couple of people in the kitchen, a couple more with the Proby doing some kind of drill if we can squeeze it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of time for lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. So we prep the lunch and then we'll all sit down together and have our lunch break and eat. And usually we get a little bit of time to
Yeah.
just kind of digest our meal, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, a bit of a break. During this time, during lunch break, also the Proby will most likely just be on their own studying.
Yeah.
This is kind of their own private time for a little bit to just catch up on things that they were asked during the day or that they felt like they needed to work on their drills.
Yeah, things that they felt that they needed to maybe brush up on. That's kind of their opportunity to go and do that.
Hmm.
And then typically after lunch break, we're gonna have like our afternoon drill or inspection. So it kind of varies depending on the day.
Oh, just to add to that, because this was part of the listener question, it's like, how is it different from a quiet hall and a busy hall? All that's different, the schedule is still the same, essentially. The only thing is calls.
Yeah.
So if we're, getting peppered with calls, that lunch break might be 2 hours later, or that, cleanup might be half an hour later than it was supposed to. You never know. You just try to get back onto the schedule after the call.
Yeah, exactly. Good, yeah, good point. Good point on remembering that too.
Yeah. So okay. So it's the afternoon. We are probably going to do a drill, maybe some inspections,
Yeah.
right?
Inspection. So that's another thing I think that some people don't understand is or don't know about is that at the fire hall level we do they're called company inspections. Essentially, what we go and do is we go to some like smaller commercial buildings and storefronts, like a Subway or whatever. We have a list of places to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Every shift has their own designated grid that they do inspections in.
yeah. And essentially, what the inspections are is to make sure that the business is compliant with the
Fire codes.
fire code. Thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
just drawing a blank there.
Ah,
Um,
another blank.
yeah.
Do not dare edit that out of the podcast.
Forgive me, CTE.
So we'll print off a bunch of inspections. We have to do a bunch for the year. So we'll print out a few and just go and inspect. So we inspect their fire extinguisher, smoke alarms. If some businesses have, a bunch of boxes by their front exit
Yeah.
or back exit, sorry, we'll just let them know. It's
It has to be clear because you're technically supposed to have two means of egress.
yeah. So, we're not going to be hard on anyone. Just it's more of like a teaching moment for most inspections and just making sure that our district is good. If we go to a very complicated looking building where there's a lot of exits, a lot of stairs, a lot of weird things, we might do like a pre-incident plan on it, right? Just kind of figure out, okay, if we got a fire here, like what are we going to do?
Yeah, and that's the thing about inspections too, is when you're doing these inspections, the really good thing about it is that you get to kind of get familiar with the buildings in your district and you get to see like a layout of a building. So that way, if you do get called there for a fire, you do have a bit of a general idea as to the layout of the building, which can be crucial.
Yeah,
right?
totally. I know, like as a driver, if we go to inspections, I'll look for the standpipes, I'll look for the hydrants, just kind of like you said, just preemptive knowledge of the place.
Exactly, yeah. So typically then once we're done inspections, that's when we'll come back to the hall And like we said earlier, like we're either going to do a drill or we're going to do inspections, right? Sometimes, if time allows it, we'll do both. It's important to drill because that's what, it keeps our skills sharp, right?
Mhm.
Usually after that, that's when typically you're gonna be allotted some time for fitness, right? For
Mhm.
being able to work out, which, we've harped about it so many times on this podcast about how important fitness is within this career, right?
Totally. So we'll all kind of try to get a workout in, maybe stagger it a little bit. So, if one person's cooking or one person's doing something at the hall, then another person will work out. Maybe we'll do a group workout.
Yeah.
It just depends. But yeah, obviously being in shape is a big part of our job. So this kind of evening, late afternoon after all our drills is a time for us to get that workout in.
Yeah, exactly. So usually we're able to get our workouts in, and like Boris said, sometimes what will happen is like people will alternate. Half the crew will get their workout in while the other half starts cooking, and then once they're done their workouts, they'll switch, and the other half will take over the cooking, and the people who are cooking can get their workout in, right? And then after that usually is when we'll sit down and have dinner together once the cooking's done and the meal's ready. Typically, like at dinner time, it's pretty good. We'll just kind of chat about the day, maybe some drills that we did that we thought were good, what could be improved, what we do differently, that kind of stuff, right?
Mhm. And then after dinner, we'll usually, after dishes and everything like that, depending on the department, depending on the crew, I know we like having Proby presentations after dinner. A Proby presentation is basically presentation by the Proby of a general skill or knowledge that they were assigned earlier in the day or maybe earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Like the SCBA. Hey, a few hours from now, you're going to be presenting on the SCBA. Use this time to study, kind of thing. So now it's after dinner, and the Proby has to present that skill to us. That's
Yeah.
kind of how we
Yeah, I think
run it.
most departments are pretty similar that way.
Mhm.
Um, Even if you are on like the old, or if you're a department that's still on the 12-hour shift, it's still probably going to be pretty similar where you're going to come in, do the shift change things that we do at the start of the shift, and then probably get a workout in, cook dinner, have the Pro Week presentation, right?
Yeah, and if your day is different than what we're listing here, let us know. We're really interested in what other fire departments, other countries do. I know in the UK, talking to some firemen, like they don't do their own cleaning; it's all outsourced.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they don't go to medicals; it's all fire calls. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's super interesting to know kind of the culture all around the world. So yeah, if you have a different day than what we're saying here, definitely let us know. We're
Yeah,
super
please
interested.
do, because yeah, it's interesting to hear how the departments do stuff, right?
Totally.
So typically after that Proby presentation, that's when we're gonna do essentially like another small fire hall clean, like just the kitchen area, dishes are gonna get done,
Mop the
mop the
kitchen area.
floors, counters are gonna get cleaned, everything's gonna be put back away nice and tidy. And
That
then kind of after that, it's kind of our own time
Yeah.
to,
Sorry, just to add on that too, it's within the fire culture that you don't leave a mess for the next crew the next day,
yeah,
right? So all your dishes are cleaned, the kitchen is nice and clean. Yeah, you don't want to be leaving any kind of mess or anything for the crew coming in the next day. So you kind of get everything squared away, tidied up, and basically ready for nighttime shift.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, because like Boris said, like essentially after this, it's kind of your own time, and then we are allowed to go to sleep after a certain time of night. That being said, just be aware that each department's different. Some departments might be earlier, some departments might be later. So just know what time that is for whichever department you're getting hired on or looking to get hired on.
Yeah, and you're
And
going to be eating calls during that night too.
I was
So
just gonna say, just so you know, you'll also be getting calls throughout the night. It's not like calls stop happening because it's after 10:30 at night or something, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's good.
yeah, and then basically from there, like the next morning, you're gonna do your handover with the next shift coming in, just like how you did in the morning of at the start of your shift, and then you're gonna put your gear away. You're gonna make sure your tags are off the rig. Yeah, and then that's basically a shift.
Yeah,
That's a 24-hour shift
yeah.
right there.
The only difference really between, a day shift and a night shift is you would kind of stop the day after those afternoon drills or inspections, right? If you were just there for a day shift.
Yeah, because you'd be getting off shift after that,
Yeah.
right?
So it's essentially the same. Like we said, some departments do 48s, some do 36s. But just for your guys' information, that's what a day in the life looks like of a 24-hour shift for us.
Yep.
So yeah, if you got any questions or you want to let us know what your day looks like, please let us know.
Yeah, send us an email, info@Firefighters Global. Please like and subscribe to this podcast if you find it valuable. The more subscribers that we have, the easier it is for other people to find it as well. So yeah, and we want to just keep bringing like good info to you guys. So
Yeah.
please like, subscribe, and follow.
We just figured out what RSS feed means, so we're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah. We're
Okay.
definitely not tech geniuses, that's for sure.
So we got Francesco.
That's
here.
why shout out to Francesco.
Thanks, guys.
We need Francesco to come on an episode one day.
Yes, the
And he
guru.
can just tell everyone how stupid we are.
When he's ready to quit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right on. Thanks for listening, guys.